and the YouTube live simultaneously, right? So we do that. But yeah. So Arvind, do we start, or do you want to check once the YouTube live is okay and people are able to access it, and then we'll start?
YouTube should be on. Yeah. Now you can start.
Good evening, everybody. This is our 13th episode as part of Let's Talk Running. We've covered a whole range of subjects, a whole range of topics, and a whole range of runners in these past 12 episodes. And unfortunately, we've never faced this problem, but just to, make life interesting, today, Insta decided to give up on us. So, well, that's life, and pretty much like the Boston Marathon course, the weather rather. So you take it in your stride. So before we start, we just want to tell you that we'll not be streaming on Insta today. Instead, we're streaming on YouTube. At a later date, we will put the recording back on Insta so that you don't miss out on that. We'll be sharing, we have shared the YouTube link on Geeks on Feet. So please log on to or join the YouTube stream to catch this very interesting conversation for the next 1 hour. So with that, let me straight away jump into the introductions. We have a wonderful panel today. We have Atul Godbole from Pune, Karthik Anand from Bangalore, and Vandana Arora, aka Vandy, from Bangalore. So I'm going to give a brief introduction because these guys have done so much. If I start listing out the all their plaudits, this whole session would not be enough. Atul is a founder and coach of Motivate Running in Pune. He trains about 50 to 60 runners, I assume all across the world in today's technology-driven age. Over and above that, he is a hands-on runner himself. He's an accomplished runner. He's got a 304 marathon PB, a 126 HMPB, and a 38:49 10 km PB. He's a 4-time Comrades Ultra Marathon finisher. So Atul, is this a combination of up and down? Do I assume that?
Yeah, just one up actually. Just one up, 3 down. Yeah.
1 up and 3 down. And the list doesn't end there. Surprises of surprises. I never knew this about Atul. He's also qualified and participated in the Ironman 70.3 World Championship in USA. So he's a triathlete as well. Welcome, Atul.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure having you. And Atul will be running his second Boston. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. That brings me to Karthik Anand, aka Kar, as he's known in Bangalore running circles. Doesn't really need an introduction, but nonetheless, it's an honor for me to go through it. He's by profession, he's a businessman, runs with pacemakers. Most of you know that, and is coached by none other than Pani sir himself. He's been running since 2008 and has been training with pacemakers for the last 9 years. If I have to talk about his running career graph, it's just been up and away in the last 1 to 1.5 years, basically. I mean, I'm just going to paraphrase my, his accomplishments here. He's run 3 sub-3 marathons in about 11 months with a PB of 2 hours, 57 minutes, 12 seconds. He has a half marathon PB of 1 hour, 21 minutes, 02 seconds, and a 10 km PB of 37 minutes and 2 seconds. And as if all this was not enough, he's also got into the Masters, the state and national master athletic championships. He's won numerous golds and bronzes there, 3 in the Karnataka state, 2 golds and a bronze in the national masters athletic state. One day we'll get him back to, share his nationals experience. That makes for a very interesting story. And he recently qualified to represent India in the Asian Masters Championship, which is to be held in Philippines sometime later this year. Welcome, Kar.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me on this show.
Always a pleasure. And that brings us to the working professional / mother / lovely daughter / athlete by heart, Vandana Arora, also goes by the name Vandy in running circles. As you can see, she wears a hat by the hour throughout the day. She's been running for the last 5 years. She juggles various roles, parent, adult, and child, in her own words, and it can get overwhelming, as we all know. And running provides her the much needed succor. She qualified for Boston on a hell of a course about 3 years back at the peak of COVID, somewhere near the Bangalore airport. And there's literally been no looking back. Vandy also ran her personal best in the marathon distance recently, just about a month ago in Delhi, 3 hours and 24 minutes. She's got a 139 HM and a 45-minute 10K to add to that. Welcome, Vandy.
Thank you so much.
So as it's Boston, before we get into the questions, we just wanted to tell you that we at Geeks on Feet are really excited about the next couple of weeks. Boston coming up and then London coming up. We'll be doing a lot of our usual analysis, and we have some surprises in store. So stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at the rate Geeks on Feet, and on Instagram as well. And we also have something called as Shoe Geeks, where runners, in fact, analyze shoes for us. And write their reviews. So these are runners' reviews for runners by the runners. Okay. So with all this, let's cut the chase and directly get into the questions. Okay. So I'm going to start with you, Atul. Tell us about how you qualified for Boston. That is your BQ race. Now I think you have a couple of them. And describe the experience that ran through you when you see that. I should not even say one confirmation email. Now I think you have a couple of confirmation emails. So every time, what is the experience that runs through you?
It's a terrific sense of accomplishment. I qualified at New Delhi Marathon, and the time was 3:06, and I had been trying to qualify for many years. So when it finally happened, it was pure elation, and like I said, it was a sense of real accomplishment. I was #Boston bound, as I like to say it. I used that hashtag actually to death last year. But this year I am trying to, control the hashtag, not dilute it. Yeah, but #Boston bound.
#Boston bound. So, Kar, what is your #Boston bound moment?
So mine, I think I've been qualifying for Boston since 2020 now. It started with Delhi. I did a 3:01 back then, though I registered for it. I think because of COVID, we could not travel. Then again, I think 2021, I qualified in multiple races. I mean, I qualified in, 2022, I qualified in Delhi. I qualified again in Ahmedabad. So the 257, which is a PB, it came in Delhi in the year 2022. So that was one of the races where I've qualified for the Boston Marathon.
And what runs through you when considering that you've already done it once, but this time, how different is the experience this time around? When you see that email that comes in and says you're in, basically.
Absolutely. So, there's a lot of difference here because 2018, I wasn't a fast runner. I used to do it in about 3 hours, 45 minutes, and I traveled through Gauri Jairam. So, absolutely. So when I got this email saying your confirmation is confirmed, it did give me goosebumps. I mean, I've done all the other big 6 marathons, but this always gives you that special feeling because you get some of the top athletes in the world participating in the Boston Marathon.
Wonderful. And we're going to talk about that 2018 experience with you as well. That was, in your own words, it was one of the most horrible experiences a runner can never have. But yeah, we'll get there as we get along.
Absolutely.
Which brings me to Vandy. Vandy, tell us about your #Boston bound moment.
Yeah, so as you said that I qualified 3 years ago in Bangalore Marathon, and I surprised myself because I was running that race for Chicago qualification.
Oh, okay.
So I gave target myself that I will qualify this for Chicago with this race, but qualifying Boston was bonus. And I was screaming with joy when I came to know that I will be running Boston. But unfortunately, I couldn't travel because of COVID. We registered, but we couldn't travel because of COVID restriction. And then we ended up doing virtual Boston Marathon here. This year, I got Boston confirmation mail on my birthday.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't have asked for a better birthday gift. Yeah.
BAA sure has a very good sense of timing. We have to compliment them for that. Nice. So this kind of brings us to the training in itself for Boston, which I understand is quite different from probably training for some other race. So, and Atul, you are both a coach and a runner in yourself, right? So let's start with you. How does your average mileage look in this? How much mileage did you do basically in this build up to Boston?
In the last 3 or 4 months, I've been clocking around 80 kilometers in my up weeks and around, let's say, 50 to 60 kilometers in my down weeks. It's a bit on the lower side than what I clocked last year, but for now, it's working for me. That's what I'm able to manage.
Okay. So you feel you still feel strong and confident even though you've kind of cut down on the mileage.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this maturity speaking?
No, I mean I saw how I performed just a few weeks ago at New Delhi. So based on that, I did 304 in New Delhi this year in February.
Right.
So I think I've managed to retain quite a bit of that fitness and hopefully build on it a bit. So let's see what happens next Monday.
Okay. And you are self-coached, as in you are a coach for many, but are you self-coached?
I'm self-coached. Yeah.
Okay. You are self-coached.
Yeah.
So you make plans for yourself as well as for your mentees.
Yes.
Wonderful. Kar, how about you? How's your, I know you're a mileage beast, but in the build-up to Boston, how's your mileage been basically? Is there anything different that you've done this time around?
No, absolutely not. I think it's been from 2016, I've been a high mileage person. So it's been 7 or 8 years in a row. I've been putting that 4,000 plus kilometers in a year. Wow. So I generally clock anything between 100 and 110 kilometers every week. So it has not changed. Maybe this year, just to try it out, I tried it for Delhi to reduce the mileage and just make it 3 or 4 running sessions and implement some cycling. It honestly did not work on me for Delhi because I was looking at a timing of 255 to 256 in Delhi, but ended up with a 259. So it was a small tweak for about 2 months before Delhi, which we tried doing about 70, 80 kilometers. It did not work out. So post Delhi, I've been
back to your staple diet.
Back to what I was always successful at. Yeah.
Fantastic. This is a very interesting insight. And when you try something like this, is this something that comes from Pani sir, or is it a consultative process where you go and say, hey sir, let's try something different, then both of you together try to explore different avenues and then decide on something? How does this work basically?
No, absolutely. It is a decision, a discussion which happens between the coach and the student. Pani sir is very approachable. He's also ready to experiment. He's ready to see what works. We don't want to just keep doing the same thing we've always been doing. So absolutely, it is under his guidance and totally under his support.
Wonderful. And Vandy, you train with Ashok Nath. We can see that T-shirt as well, run with Ash, basically. How has your mileage been in the build-up to Boston? You also, in fact, I would just want to tell the audience that all three of them, in fact, did Delhi, right? And then they're doing Boston. And we're going to take that question up also later. So just hold your horses. But yeah, Vandy, coming back to you, how's your mileage been in the build-up to Boston?
So I divide this whole Boston training built up in 2 parts, one before NDM and one after NDM. So NDM was a training run for me. And before NDM, we were high on mileage. I was clocking around 115 to 120 kilometers per week. I do doubles, morning and evening runs. But after NDM, the training plan changed and we moved to more of a challenging course. But mileage has not gone above 100. So now also I do doubles, but it's lesser on mileage. I'm also like Kar. I am a high mileage girl. I feel confident if the mileage is high on my legs.
Okay. Good.
So that's fun.
And you've kind of led me to the next question, and I think I'm going to start from you again. You spoke about practicing on a course that kind of simulates Boston. So how do you do that, considering that Boston, in Atul's own words, is very deceptive in the first half, and then gets it kind of smashes you in the second half. So how do you simulate that in training?
So our coach has crafted a very nice Newton Hill plans for us. And I do those runs on treadmill. And it is exactly like a Newton Hill plan that around what will be your the elevation, and then you have to run again flat and then again elevation. So that runs I do around 11 a.m. on treadmill because that's the time I will be running in Boston at that time.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So apart from long runs on training rolling hills, I have done this Newton Hill plan. So like tomorrow, I have done my long run today. Last long run, but tomorrow I will be running at 11 a.m. On treadmill, and I will be executing this the Newton Hill plan.
So this is also, and you say you'll do it tomorrow. So is that basically to simulate running on Newton Hill in tired legs because you did your long run today and then you're going to go and do? Okay. Very interesting. And this 11 a.m. on a treadmill, I mean, in India, that's a very innovative way of figuring out a hack to attack the Newton Hill, basically.
It's difficult. It's difficult because it's very hot.
Right.
So I give 2 ACs and a fan directly on me. Because, it's difficult, but it's quite nice to train at that time because you're alone and it's
right.
And you can sleep for longer hours in the morning.
Nice. Kar, how about you? How do you simulate the Boston course in your training?
Well, we keep it very simple. I mean, in the group we have a lot of runners who have done the Boston Marathon, including the coach who's done it twice, if I'm right. So it's very simple. I mean, from his words, it is the first 7 kilometers is mostly downhill. The next few kilometers is kind of a steady course. And again, you would prepare for the hills between 24 and 32. So we looked to implement this in a couple of our long runs. We do it in the hilly areas like Turali Forest and surrounding areas. So always, people say do a lot of uphill running for Boston, but I would, from the guidance we've had, it's more to do with downhill running because it hits the cords. You need to prepare for those kind of things. So basically, I think most of us in Bangalore know the Turali stretch. It's a 5 kilometer downhill stretch, and again, when you take a U-turn, it's again a 5 kilometer uphill stretch. So this has been something which we've been practicing a lot to get the cords and to get the hamstrings all used to impact like that.
Wonderful. Atul, that brings me to you. How do you simulate the Boston course? We know Pune is kind of, undulating, but then what are your hacks basically?
No hacks really. As you mentioned, Pune has lots of rolling routes. So simulating the Boston course is not that much of a problem. I do all my long runs on Pashan Road, which has a pretty similar elevation profile to the Boston route. So for the past few weeks, all my Sunday runs, the long runs, I've been running them on Pashan Road.
But when you hear Vandy and Kar having their own set of hacks, basically, do you feel that going forward you would also want to try something out like this in the next training block?
No.
Okay, you're happy. Really. What works for you, you'd stick to that.
Yes.
And is this the same thing that you recommend to your mentees as well? Those who are running Boston.
Vishwas is also doing the same route.
Oh, he's also doing the same.
Last year, 6 of us did Boston from the team.
Oh, wow.
And and we all did the same route. Yeah.
So it's worked very well for not just you, but for your mentees as well.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. So don't break something that is
don't break.
fixed.
It's not broken. Yeah.
If it's not broken, don't fix it. Wonderful. In fact, again, I'm going to go from you again. In terms of intensity, if we have to see a weekly, training schedule for you, how is the intensity spread out? How much of it is easy? How much of it is probably, hard? And how much of it is, I'll put a third, like Steve Magnus puts this, and I really like this analogy, C God, S-E-E God workout, basically. So he says sometimes most of the times you go easy, occasionally you go and see God. So how much of easy and how much of see God do you guys do, basically?
I think right now for my mileage, it's, I would say around 40% hard, 60% easy.
Okay.
If I were clocking a bit higher mileage, it would have been more 70-30, 70 easy, 30 hard. But right now it's 40 hard and 60% easy.
And considering that you've come down from 100K to an 80K kind of mileage, does that proportion still remain the same? Were you doing the same thing when you were doing 100K weeks as well, basically?
No, for 100K, most of the additional mileage, it was all easy runs. So it was more skewed towards the easy side of things for the higher mileage weeks, yeah.
Okay, but whereas here now it's more, it's probably skewed a little bit more towards the
because
easy is still overwhelmingly there, but the hard has just gone up a little, basically.
Yeah, most of the mileage that I've removed, that was the easy runs. I've removed the easy runs. Some of the easy runs, not all of them, of course.
Right. And does it remain the same for your mentees as well, those who are training for Boston, basically?
No, Vishwas is sticking to a higher mileage plan. In fact, he has increased his mileage for this year. So I think his skew would be more 70-30, 70% easy, 30% hard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Kar, this is always a fascinating question. I've always meant to ask you this. How much easy, how much hard? Because mostly it looks like a lot of, you see God a lot, basically, from what I see, actually. So how does it work with you, basically? Is God happy with you seem so often, basically?
So absolutely. I mean, we do 6 running sessions in a week. We keep it simple. 3 hard sessions and 3 easy sessions, basically the recovery sessions. Tuesdays is intervals, Thursdays is tempo, and Saturdays is the long runs. Majority of the times it is about 60% hard and 40% easy. That is what we do. Of course, the impact increases maybe about 5 weeks or 6 weeks before the race. It becomes 70-30 also. So mostly, I mean, the intervals are hard, the tempos are hard, the long runs are extremely hard in the last 4-5 weeks. In between, I think the Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we do tend to have those easy recovery runs of 60 minutes, 75 minutes, whatever.
Okay. But are these recovery runs also on Turahalli, or they are like anywhere?
No, absolutely not. I mean, it is. I do my strength and conditioning also.
Right.
So preferably, I do it on the treadmill, if not anywhere within the vicinity of Kormagla or Jainagar.
Got it. Interesting. Fascinating, the different training styles of, different Boston runners. So, Andy, that brings me to you. How often do you see God?
So it's similar. Tuesdays and Thursdays and 1 long runs, which are the long runs are easy, and but Tuesdays, Thursdays are hard. And when I say hard, we really concentrate on running hard on those days. And easy, like my evenings runs are easy. If I don't feel like really running, I'm tired from work and the day was tiring, I really take a walk that day. But the complete idea is that to do something in the evening. So yeah, it will be, I'll say 60-40.
60-40 with a skew towards the easy, or 40 hard, 60 easy, something like
40
that?
40 hard, 60 easy, yeah.
40 hard,
so,
60 easy.
Long runs are easy most of the time.
Okay. Interesting. Which brings me to the next question, Vandy. Kar just mentioned it, and I know I'm gonna go from there. You also go to stairs physiotherapy in Kormangla for your strength training. How much has strength training? I mean, I know this question is a trite question, but nonetheless, I'll have to go with that, and I'll add something to it. So, how does strength really help in the context of Boston? And if you find that question too boring, how do you tweak the strength training specifically for Boston, basically?
So I love doing strength training. So what I understand from various coaches, the Panisar and our coach, that you have to have a good quads, and it really beats your quads. Though I have not run Boston yet, but then I have completely kept on asking my strength coaches that please, I need to work on my quads. So we have concentrated more on quads, but I'm really gifted that we have a nice coaches around us, and they know what they're trying to achieve. Like Soumya is always there to help. And so in that way, we have more worked on quads and glutes, and like in my past 1 month, I see it was more of a legs and core workout.
Legs and core workout. Okay, and you can feel the difference perceptibly in your training, right? I mean,
definitely.
What you would have done for Delhi versus what you're doing now, basically, you can perceptibly see a difference. Although they're not, it's not fair to compare them, but still, I mean, given that you're running a lot on hills, basically, so I'm thinking that this would really be helping you in your hill runs, actually. Yeah, Kar, the same question to you, basically. You took up to strength. Your tryst with strength training, we can have a session in itself for that. But parking that aside, you've really been a big fan of strength training over the last 2 to 3 years, from looking at you from closer quarters. So how do you tweak your strength and conditioning program for a race like Boston?
Most of you know it, my strength training is not lifting weights. I mean, it's mostly running specific kind of strength training. Just before Delhi, I was doing my own strength training. I have a little gym at home, so I was doing my own strength training for about 2-3 months. Again, here my focus was more on core and a little lesser on the upper body. It was always on the lower body. But post Delhi, yes, I approached Sweaty coach. I mean, most of you know Sunil Gowda, and basically now, like what Vandy said, it's absolutely the same. We're looking to handle the hills, so looking to work more on the quads, more on the hamstrings, more on the calves, basically for the body to take that kind of an impact when you're doing your running. So that has been the focus. So now I've just been sticking 2 sessions of hard strength training sessions with the team, and one on my own I just tend to do it at home, basically focus on the core, more on mobility kind of activities.
And considering that, you are 60-40 on the other side of the spectrum, is there some fatigue from the strength sessions that kind of fall into the hard running sessions the next day, basically?
Absolutely. See, I agree with you here, because earlier when I used to work out in stairs, it used to be a little more rigorous, and they used to push you a lot more. But I think I put that very clearly on table now with Sweaty, saying I don't want to be over pushed here, because we already are pushing 3 sessions. So he's given me that comfort. He's given me that flexibility of doing it as per a little bit more less impact, or a little bit more without that kind of intensity, basically.
Got it. Very, very interesting.
So basically there is a recovery. I mean, it's not too hard on the body.
Okay, it's not too hard on the body. Got it. Atul, how about you? We know a lot about your running. We know a lot about how, the running aspects of Pune runners. We know a little bit of strength from what we see in Kavi's videos or Vishwas's videos. But what does Atul Godbole do for strength training, and specifically for Boston?
Yeah, nothing specific as such. There are no tweaks specifically for Boston. I've been following the same regimen that I've always done. So it's a combination of strength, dynamic stability, hip mobility, some light plyometrics, single leg balance exercises, that sort of thing, resistance bands, core. So I try to mix it up, try to work all the aspects of strength training.
And how often is this in a week?
Around twice a week. Just twice a week. I believe that a little goes a long way when it comes to strength training. Yeah, there's no need to work yourself to death. Right. Because you're already doing that when doing the actual runs. That's what I feel. That's what I believe in.
Okay. So Karthik Nadar, I hope you're noting these Atulisms. We can use them in future Insta lives, basically. A little goes a long way. Don't fix something that is not broken. I think we should make a note of all these things. We'll reuse it somewhere in the future. And is this a template that your runners also follow, Atul, or is this something that just you do and you leave them on their own to decide what works for them?
No, I do take their strength training sessions also. But some of them, they do some additional sessions also. But most of them, they do just once or twice a week.
Once or twice a week. Very interesting. Yeah. And, now I'm going to come to a very interesting aspect, right? See, about 7 to 8 years back, maybe even 5 years back, we didn't have as many races. And it used to be, you run Bombay the previous year, and then, you kind of, the entire thing gears up towards maybe another Bombay and then a Boston. But today we see, like Karthik said this, Vandy said this, even you for that matter, the serious Indian amateur runner is actually running 2 to 3 marathons a year, basically. So, I mean, and this is fascinating. It's not like, you're just, one is a training run for you. I mean, you go there and you really beat it out. You ran a 304, Vandy ran her PB, Carr ran a, 259 at Delhi. So, how do you guys, definitely the Indian running scene has changed, basically, right?
Yeah.
And Atul, I'm going to start from you because you're a coach. You must be a keen observer. And I'm assuming this might be the case in with your mentees as well. They also might be running 2 to 3 marathons a year, basically, right? Now, most of them, or at least some of them. Yeah. How do you manage? I mean, how do you run a Delhi? Let's keep it specific. How do you run a Delhi at, full blast, full steam, and 7 weeks later go and run a Boston, basically? How does this work, basically? Why was this not the case before, and why is the case today? Why is it the case today, basically?
I mean, it can get a bit tricky to race frequently. Earlier, it was not the case because the races simply were not there, and also there was not enough awareness about recovery protocols, how to ramp up for a race, how to build up for a race, how to recover from a race, and then how to transition to the next race. Okay. So we are very comfortable doing just one full marathon, which was usually the Mumbai full marathon or maybe the Hyderabad full. We are in a very comfortable sort of a comfort zone. TMM ho gaya, now let's just relax for a few months, and then as the new race season starts, let's see how to ramp it up again. But now there's a lot of awareness, there's a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of people are studying and looking at various athletes from all around the world, various athletes and also various coaches, and they know that it is possible to race 2 or even 3 full marathons in a year with the right approach to training, right approach to recovery, nutrition, diet, sleep, all those things, which are important and which do matter. So I think it's a combination of all these things.
Fantastic. So recovery, nutrition, strength training, definitely sleep, and more awareness. You're saying these because now
training
more
protocols,
training protocols. Now more than ever, even the performances are going through the roof. It's not. I mean, sub 3 is like at least in your league, basically, right? I mean, a sub 3 or even let's say a sub 3:15 is par for the course today, basically in overseas races, which is really fascinating, interesting. Kar, you want to add something to this? I mean, because you've been running for about 8 to 9 years now, basically, right? In fact, even more.
Absolutely.
What do you think has changed, actually?
No, actually, I've been running from 15 years, but my body was not adapted to any of all these circuses, what I'm doing now. Back then, between 2008 and 2019, definitely no. I mean, I would never do it. Even if you look at the big 6 marathons, which we did, I think we did it over a span of 3 years. So it was very well planned again by coach. We started in 2016. So for every span of 6 months, we were targeting the race. Yes, back then I was not prepared. But now I think with this kind of mileage, which I've been adding from 2016, the body can take that kind of a load. So it's ready. I mean, I am capable of doing at least 3 marathons a year very easily. I don't feel that kind of, I mean, it doesn't take that long for a recovery post-marathon, maybe about 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we're good to go again.
I'm going to actually, ask you one more question here. Given that in your previous avatar as a runner, you were very injury prone as well. Does that come in the back of the mind somewhere nowadays that, hey, I've been very injury prone in the past. Should I be really doing, in your own words, this circus basically?
Very honestly, I think the only injury which I've carried was the sciatica issue. I think this was between 2018 is when I carried it. And I mean, it was a mistake from my side. Back then, we never had good physios. So I just kept ignoring it for close to a year. But that is when I met this sales team and implemented strength training and all this, and I got rid of it. So that has been the only injury I've carried all my life. So that way, I'm pretty lucky as far as that is concerned.
Right. Interesting. And Vandy, you've run 3. This will be a third marathon. You ran Mumbai, and then you ran Delhi, and now you're going to run Boston. How's the body taking it?
So it's a very thoughtful effort on the recovery we have done. Mumbai, Delhi were more of a training runs, and especially Mumbai because I just came out of COVID a week back when I ran Mumbai.
Oh, week back.
It was around 1.5 week back. So it was so both of them I did not take a pressure. And especially Mumbai, so I was not taking a pressure at all. But it was a thoughtful effort of recovered well after the race. Like I will not do the strength workout just the next day, which I was doing it earlier.
Okay.
So the old Mandy will just on the Monday morning will show up in the strength workout again. So a thoughtful effort was taken, like 3 days of no workout at all, and give your body a complete rest. And then I feel recovered after that. That was a learning which we incorporated.
So when you say we, this was something that you and Ashok kind of discussed and deliberated upon, and then you arrived at this kind of a protocol?
No. He understand. We did not discuss. He understand. He is quite he experienced in that, and he understand that what's going wrong. And he told me that not to make this mistake, and give me your. He is very concentrating on that how much sleep I take.
Okay.
And he keeps keeping a tab that you need to sleep well if it is not going well. So yeah.
Wonderful. And that kind of segues into the next question, and we're going to start again from you because the other two have run it, so we'll come to them later. But considering that this is going to be your first Boston, which part of the course are you looking forward to, and which part of the course you just want to get done with it, basically?
I have visualized myself running the last 10K.
Uh-huh.
In Delhi also, every time I do long runs, last 10K, I visualize myself like a lightning. Yeah, so it is more of a discipline. It's more of a patience. That how I throttle myself in first 10K, because again, I have a habit of going all out. So
right.
This is a big real learning race for me, which I have decided and like what to do. So like how I control myself in the initial kilometers. And yeah, Newton Hills, I've run many times on treadmill. I will execute the same way. And the last 10K will be mine.
Achilles heel. Okay, wonderful. And you used a really nice word, and I'm going to throw that to the next two guys. In fact, visualization. I think that's a very powerful mental tool, right? So, Kar, considering that you've run, what could possibly be the worst of Boston Marathon edition so far. Vis-a-vis visualization, basically, how do you manage it actually?
Very honestly, I don't remember anything the 2018 Boston Marathon. I think post 26 or 28, it was the same story. If you notice people like Pani sir or even Coach Ashoknath, all of them had a very tough time, and they've all done a DNF on that particular race. So it was absolutely the same story with me. Basically, after 28, I don't remember anything. I don't remember even passing the Heartbreak Hill or any other hill.
But that's insane. That's still 14 kilometers. You're saying it was a blur for you, and you kept going for the next 14 kilometers. That's crazy.
Absolutely. See, back then I wasn't a fast runner. I shelled out a bomb with Active Holidays to get an entry into this race. So I had no choice. I had to finish this marathon to get that big 6 kind of a medal was the only intention back then. Of course, even I tried getting into one of the medical tents and ending my race at 34 or once more at 37. But starting from the last wave back then, we started from the wave 4. Those medical tents were also completely packed. So there was absolutely no place for you to even put your leg inside. So I just kept going with the flow, and finally I realized, 37, 38 done, another 4 more, let's suffer and finish it. So I went on and finished that race too. But the post-race impact was massive. I had frostbites. I was close to about 30 days post the marathon. Coming to the favorite part of the course, it's definitely the hills for me. No doubt about it, because I enjoy running the hills. I've been doing a lot of hill running all my life. I think for the past 6-7 years, a lot of for Uttarali kind of places where we always keep running. The part of the course which I would which I would not like is basically that wait in the village. Basically, just cross the start line and get going. Simple as that. Because the process, all of you know it. The entire process of catching the bus and coming to the village is a 1 hour, 15-minute journey. Again, staying up there, waiting to get into your corral is another hour and a half. So that is a painful part for me always.
And looking back in retrospect, do you think the 2018 experience has made you a much stronger runner, mentally speaking? So given a hypothetical situation, I'm not wishing for that, but in the off case that 2018 we revisit it next Monday, don't kill me guys, but just a hypothetical situation here. Do you think you're better equipped to handle it, basically?
Absolutely. The 2018 was a lot of, it gave me a lot of learning lessons, basically. We went, I wasn't prepared like how I am now. The rain was for about 4 or 5 hours even before we started the race. So we were soaking wet. At the minute we got off the bus, we were all wet. In fact, even before getting the bus, we were all wet. The shoes were soaked. So now, we've learned those mistakes. Definitely we'll look to implement and correct those things, how to protect your shoes, how to protect your clothes, how to protect yourself and stay away from wind. And in fact, this year also, the weather report says there is some kind of rain and winds in Boston on that particular Monday. Hopefully, so we shouldn't have that much of a difficulty because I've had that kind of an experience now.
Fantastic. Atul, how about you? I think you didn't have a really good outing last year. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
What about you? What is it that, what are the sections of the course that you're really looking forward to? And what are the sections of the course that, you just want to get done with them, basically?
I'm looking forward to the downhill sections. I'm not looking forward to the uphill sections. Let me keep it simple. No, but in all seriousness, yes. The worst part is that the uphill sections come in the second half of the race, where you're already tired and you have to summon all your mental energy, which is already tough as it is on a flat course, let's say like New Delhi. But at Boston, where you are running net downhill for almost 25, 27K, and it batters your legs, your quads are gone, your legs are short, and then it smashes you with all those hills. I think there are 5 or 6 of them. So it's very tricky that way. But so I'm not looking forward to that part. But that's the course, and that's the beauty and unique challenge of that course. So in a way, I'm looking forward to it.
And let's say if you have a bad experience in a previous edition of the race, does that linger somewhere in the back of the head when you go back to run the next year, basically? And is there a voice somewhere which says, "Hey, listen, we didn't do well here," basically? And how do you address those voices?
In fact, there's an advantage because I know what to expect this time in terms of the course, the elevation, what to expect. Like Karthik said, all the waiting in the bus journey, the waiting before the start, it can get very boring. It can get very tiring. It can get also mentally taxing. So, but now this time I'm all prepared for it, and also the course. So I know what to expect, how to tackle, how to strategize. And all that sort of thing. So I think I'm better prepared this time.
Better prepared. This is a very interesting thread that's coming out from both of you, and maybe Andy will benefit from this. The logistics of Boston seem to be equally as challenging as the course, basically.
Yeah.
Right. So that's very interesting. Something which probably is not the case with the other world majors, but in this case,
it's the case with all of them. It's the case with all of them. Yeah. There's a lot of waiting. There's a lot of crowd. There's usually a long journey. But there's no getting around that. It's just the way. Yeah, it's just the way it is.
Wonderful. And Atul, do you train alone or do you train with your mentees? In this training block, how has it been?
For this year, I'm training alone. Vishwas is also running, but like I said, he has a slightly different plan, and he's also slightly faster. So this year, I'm training alone. Of course, we run on the same route, but we do our own workouts. Last year, there were 6 of us. So for the most part, we trained together. Almost almost all of our training we did together last year. But this year, I'm all alone.
And how has it worked for you, considering that last year it was in a group and now it's solo? Are you comfortable more in a group or in a solo, or both works?
I'm fine either way.
Either ways.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Kar, what about you, basically? I mean, do you train alone or do you train with a group?
Absolutely. I think Pacemakers is known for its group strength. I think we've got some of the best runners in the city with us. So that way we are extremely lucky. 9% of me is my teammates. So we have, you know it all. Sunil Kumar Koi, Tilak Dutt. There is...
Suresh
Rathod, all of us, we're all in the same category of pace. So we all tend to train together. Again, this has not worked for me earlier. When we did the Delhi, I was the only one among the top order who was doing the Delhi Marathon. So the training becomes solo. You do. There's no problem at all in me going out and doing my training. Absolutely, I'm that kind of a guy who would do it. But you don't push yourself when you do a solo training. The minute you start doing it with the group, I think it's just, it just happens automatically. You just tend to stick with the group even when you're fatigued. You're not in your comfort zone for sure. Absolutely not in your comfort zone. Be it the intervals and the members in the group are also such that if somebody is slowing down, they would not clap and say, "Okay, you suffer." They're the kind of guys who would pull you back, who would say, "Please come along." Yeah, it's a very encouraging group. I think that is one of our strengths always. So lucky that way. Even if you look at the Boston Marathon, we're all running together. So basically, all of us are in one, and 2 of us are in 6th corral, and Tilak is in the 7th corral. But we all prefer just shifting back 1 corral and starting with Tilak. So we prefer running together because we've trained together. We've done our long runs together. We've done our intervals together. So absolutely, training with the group is always a benefit. No doubt.
Interesting. That was going to be my next question, that whether you're racing together as well. You answered that without even me asking. Thank you for that, actually. Vandy, what about you? Of course, I mean, do you train in a group or do you train individually? And
No.
after listening to these two insights, what do you think, basically?
Yeah, so past couple of years, I'm training alone.
Okay.
And I'm like a horse. I don't see anything when I run. Uh, so when I'm running, it's like a meditation. It's like a prayer for me.
Okay.
So yeah, I run alone. Yeah, and I don't prefer anybody with me. Accompanying me. I have trained myself so well that that's my choice. That I prefer to run alone.
You prefer to run alone. Very interesting. Okay, this brings us to kind of the last segment of the show, and let's talk about race day and the build up to that. When are you guys traveling to Boston? Wendy, when are you traveling to Boston?
So me and Karthik is traveling together. We are. It's a Thursday, very early morning, and Thursday we are reaching to Boston. Thursday Boston time we are reaching.
Okay, so Karthik is also traveling with you, so I think that question gets answered. How about you, Atul? When are you traveling?
Same. I'm also traveling on Thursday, reaching there Thursday evening. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days of rest, expo and all that thing. And then Monday is the big day, race day.
Okay, Monday is the race day, basically. So how do you guys handle something like, let's say, jet lag and sleep? How do you address that in the 48 to 72 hours building up into the race? Assuming that considering that you guys reach there on a Thursday, basically, how do you handle that?
It can get a bit tricky. So what I try to do is try to sync when I start the plane journey. I try to sync my sleep to the target time zone. I'm not always successful with that, but I try to do that as much as possible. And but it definitely affects you, especially a journey to a faraway destination like the US. It's on the other side of the globe, so it definitely affects you. But it's all part and parcel.
It's all part and parcel, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And did you travel on a Thursday the last time around you went to Boston as well?
No, actually, last time I traveled 2 weeks earlier. My brother lives in the Bay Area, so I visited him for 2 weeks. And then I traveled from California to Boston on Friday last time. Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And how about you, Kar? How do you manage sleep and jet lag? How do you address that issue, basically?
I like discussed earlier, I think my process is very simple. I'm a very sensitive sleeper, so I require a very comfortable bed and a quiet surroundings to get a good sleep. So definitely, how many hours it takes in a flight or in the airports, definitely I would not sleep. I cannot sleep. I don't have the habit of sleeping, rather. So the minute we'll land in Boston, I think at around 3 p.m. on a Thursday. So the intention is to just keep ourselves busy for the next 4 hours, 3 to 7, either go out for a walk or just find some kind of small shopping places around to just hang around and hit the bed by around 7, 8 p.m. I think like what Atul also said, sinking in with that time zone and sleeping at that particular time zone should help. And I've never faced a jet lag issue, though I've traveled a lot around the world. I've never faced a jet lag issue when I've headed to that particular country. I think, I remember Vandy saying this, it's always when you come back is when all the jet lag and other issues tend to come.
Very interesting. Vandy, you want to add to that? How are you going to deal with, sleep and jet lag, basically?
So idea is pretty much same as Atul and Karthik said. Also, I will be carrying melatonin with me to have a better sleep this time once I reach there. So just to add to their point. Otherwise, the idea is same, to sink in to the US time and just be awake.
Wonderful. And since we have shoe geeks, what shoes are you guys wearing on race day? Vandy, we'll start with you, basically.
So I'll wear Alpha Fly, but I'm planning to buy new shoes there. I will wear my Alpha Flies.
So this would be the Alpha Fly 2, I'm assuming, basically.
Yeah, Alpha Fly 2.
Okay. Atul, how about you? What are you planning to use for race day?
Same. I'm using Alpha Fly.
Alpha Fly. And again, the Alpha Fly 2, right?
2, yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. Car, I know you're not using an Alpha Flight 2, but then what are you using?
I've just taken the next person 3, so it's just been delivered in Boston. So I'm going to just implement that on race day. Absolutely.
Oh, you're going to directly break into the VF3 on race day, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I've registered for the 5K race. I would do the 5K race also in it. So, I mean, there's not much difference as far as the fit is concerned. I've always been using the Vaporfly 2. So, it's just more about the comfort in the legs in the new version. So, I'm going to take a chance for the next person 3.
Fantastic. And okay, you spoke about the 5K. Atul, Vandy, have you guys also signed up for the 5K?
No, not signed up for the race, but I will definitely be doing a short 5 or 6K easy run, or maybe most probably on Friday or Saturday, just to shake out the legs.
Right. Makes sense. And you do this with the Alpha Fly 2 only, or do you do it with another pair basically?
I think I will use the Alpha Fly only.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And Wendy, what about you? Are you doing the 5K or
the registration got over pretty quickly I wanted to run the 5K for the experience, but by the time I logged in, it was already closed, so I couldn't register. But definitely I will run the 5K. I will be around. I will run the 5K in my racing shoes.
In your racing shoes. Wonderful. And in fact, this brings me to another question. This time around, and I mean, last year to this year, if we see, there have been 13 women from India, and we're talking about women runners from India. Of course, we're not talking about Indians settled abroad, but runners from India. 13 of them last year and 13 again this year. Do you guys have something like a WhatsApp group, all the women there who kind of compare notes? Because there are some pretty strong runners out there actually. So do you guys compare notes on training? There might be some very woman specific things, right? In training for a race like Boston. So do you guys actually connect? Do you guys actually compare notes?
No, that I have not done. But yeah, I was in touch with Tanmaya. It's her fifth Boston this time. So the nutrition, So I was in like today morning, we were exchanging notes that she ran in the rain and with the jacket on, and it's not easy to run because rains there are cold, unlike us.
Okay.
So I was in touch with them, not as a WhatsApp group. We don't have. But I was in touch with few of the runners who is running Boston.
Do you want to also narrate that interesting anecdote that Tanmaya had to share based on her previous experiences, right?
No, you can.
So basically, Tanmaya had a very interesting point that she made. She says you can train for the hills, but do you guys actually wear a gloves in Bangalore or Pune weather and try to open a gel? That is the real deal challenge in Boston. So Kar, Atul, have you guys tried that out, basically wearing a gloves on one of your training runs here in Bangalore and then or Pune for that matter and trying to open a gel?
No, I'm going to use my teeth if it comes to that.
Absolutely not. In my case too, I think Bangalore's enough hot. I mean, using a gloves, I've never done that at all in my training. But I can just share a similar experience I've had in 2018 with you all. Even with the gloves, I had everything on as far as the protection for the fingers were concerned. But I mean, there's no point when you have rain at that kind of a magnitude. Everything gets wet. I could not take out even basic gels from my pocket. And,
you could not even take it out?
No, absolutely
Forget
not.
opening it. I mean, you couldn't even take it out, actually.
Yes, I remember stopping at the 29th kilometer and asking a gentleman who was by the roadside, trying to tell him to just take out the gel and give it to me in my mouth. But even the mouth was so numb that I could not even speak. He could not understand what I was saying. He just felt like this guy is off his nuts as it is, and he just left the place. So that was also an experience.
So long story short, if you're screwed, basically, no matter how much you practice. Interesting. Atul, that kind of brings me to another question, right? How do you do this balancing act? I mean, you have a full-time job, right? You coach 50 to 60 people, and then you're a serious amateur runner as well. How do you kind of balance it? And more so in the context of running, how do you view your performance as a passionate runner vis-a-vis, let's say, somebody like Vishwa's performance in a very objective way? I mean, how do you kind of compartmentalize these three aspects of you?
Yeah, sometimes it can get a bit tricky, but I managed to keep both roles separate most of the times. When we trained together last year, the basic thing is to avoid commenting as a coach on the road during or even immediately after the workout. I would save that for later when I'm reviewing the training. But when we are all actually out on the roads doing the workouts, everybody is a runner first, myself included. So on the roads, I'm not the coach and they're not my mentees. We are all runners. So that helps things quite a bit.
Okay. And when, let's just face it, right? Unfinished business for Vishwa. So when Vishwa says, I'm going back for that sub 3 I missed last year, what do you tell him? As a coach,
he could have done it last year also, but it's just the day, how the day goes. It was just not his day, like it was not my day. So it happens. So you cannot expect to perform your best and get a PB every time, have a great day every time you go out on the road. So some days are good, some days are bad. But to be honest, he could have done it last year, and so this year is definitely. He will surely do it this year. He has improved his fitness. He's more mentally strong and all that. So he will definitely get that sub 3 this year.
In fact, he was within striking distance last year also, if I remember. Him and Amod
were just 2 or 3 minutes.
Almost there, basically.
I think just 302 or 303. So not that far away from the sub 3 mark. So I think he should get that this time.
Fantastic. Kar, given your experience, if you have to tell Tilak and Sunil, if you have to condense all your learnings in 3 sentences for Sunil and Tilak, considering that this will be their first Boston, not that you're giving them gyan, but just sharing your experience as a peer runner, what would that be in the context of Boston?
I think the most important thing is, we being fast runners in India, especially when we start the race, maybe it's just the first kilometer, you have people next to you, and post that you have nobody at all. So you're on your own. But when you come into these international races, absolutely not. Even sub 3 has massive, numbers of people who are running at that pace. So it's very easy to get carried away in the start. Especially that the course is downhill, and with the kind of fast runners running with you, you tend to get carried away and you tend to go a little more faster. So my advice, we've already spoken about this, is to hold on to our horses until the 32nd or 34th kilometer, and then look to always increase and do whatever you can post that. Also, I think the travel things, boarding of the bus, heading to the village and the time you need there, that's something which they've not experienced. So we've spoken about all these things. Those are the basic things, basic important things. They don't require gyan from me. I think they have some of the more experienced people like Bobby Thomas, Philip, and Fani sir, and all these people. Absolutely. We have a lot of people who've done these things to guide them better.
Got it. Nice. Vandy, are you going to race alone, or are you going to kind of peg along with somebody, or how is it going to be basically? Considering that this is your first Boston, how are you going to attack it?
No, I'll do my race alone. And I have prepared myself a lot mentally that what I need to do, and I'll try to stick to that.
Okay. Is the little fellow on your right going with you to Boston, basically? That unicorn that I see over there?
The other one is coming.
Okay. Very interesting. Which kind of brings me to the final question, right? And, a lot of people ask this to Everest mountaineers, right? Why Everest? And the standard answer, any guesses for what the answer is? When somebody asks them, why Everest? What is the answer that mountaineers give? Anybody wants to?
Because it's there.
Because it's there. There we go. So Atul, I'm going to start with you. Why Boston? Once, twice, and now you're looking even at probably a potential third. Why Boston again and again and again?
Yeah, as an amateur athlete, it's the ultimate goal to achieve and to run. The Boston Marathon, it's the Olympics for amateurs. It's the Mecca for marathoners. So that's that. But Boston has another fascination for me because I've always read about Boston and its role in the American Revolutionary War. In fact, the Boston Marathon was itself started to commemorate the Revolutionary War. So there were historical incidences like the Boston Tea Party,
Right.
And many historical persons from the war, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, quite a few, very great people. They were from Boston. So Boston and its history have always fascinated me in that
Wonderful.
Regard also.
That's a lovely answer. Soaked in history.
Yeah.
So do you also go and see the Mayflower, the first boat on which the immigrants came into?
Is it there? I don't know.
It is somewhere in the vicinity. Is what I've heard. I might be I might have to be corrected, but that's what I've heard. Actually, I think that was the first.
I will try to find it out.
Yeah, please check that also up. Basically,
Yeah.
Car, horrible weather. I know. I mean, you love uphill courses, but nonetheless, why Boston again?
It's very simple. Like what Atul said, it's always the mecca of running for most mature runners. Earlier we never had unqualified runners. So it's always the best in the world that come to participate there. But let me be honest with you. The only reason why I'm going there this year is because we have a group. We have about 9 or 10 of us from pacemakers who have all qualified, and could be, I don't know, maybe the largest number of people from a single group participating in the Boston Marathon.
Oh, wow.
And also, I think Deepthi, my wife, has completed 3 and she's looking to do the next 3. So just giving her company to do the Boston Marathon is the main intention for me.
Okay, so when you say 9 to 10, these are across India and across the world. These 9 to 10 runners who are going to be coming in from pacemakers.
Absolutely, I think we are 5 from the group and 1 from Chennai and another 2 who are settled in the US. Something like that. They're all over the world.
Wonderful.
But we all travel together. We all stay together in the same hotel, so we'll all be meeting over there.
Fantastic. Vandy, are you going to join Atul again in 2024, or it's going to be one Boston and then you're going to take a break for some time like Car and then come back after a couple of years to Boston, basically?
Let's talk about this next Tuesday. I don't know. I really don't know. I can't say that now. So let's see what brings me in next Monday, and then we decide.
Okay.
Berlin I did twice. Berlin, there was unfinished business, and I did twice. Yeah. So let me finish first major 6, and then I'll think about it.
Fantastic. We'll talk to you next Tuesday, as you said, and we'll see whether that perception has changed, actually. Yeah. But nonetheless, all the very best to you, Atul, to you, Kar, and to you, Vandy. We'll all be cheering and rooting for you from here.
Thank you.
Hope you slay the hills. Hope you have a wonderful and memorable race. And Godspeed and God's strength to all of you. It's been a pleasure hosting all of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kat. Thanks a lot for having us.
And I'll be failing in my duties if I don't, really acknowledge the contributions of Arvind Ajad, Aditi, and Karthik Nadar. These are together we form Team Geeks, and it's these people who kind of do all the analysis, all the logistics. Unfortunately, we'll again profusely apologize for the Instagram snafu today. We'll definitely fix it for future editions, and we'll ensure that this recording is available for all those who missed out due to this snafu. So a big word of thanks to all of them. Have a wonderful weekend, guys, and looking forward to the Boston week. Cheers.
Thank you so much. All the best, Atul. All the best, Matic. See you.
All the best.